Welcome to today's episode of KinFit. I'm Michael.
I'm Tiffany, and today's a beautiful day. We are filming at the McGill University campus.
All right, let's get right to Fit News.
So, what's going on in Fit News?
Well, remember when Kellogg's was giving away those pedometers about 2 years ago?
Oh yeah, those step counters?
Yeah, I just recently read in a news article that doctors were saying if you own or you buy cheap pedometers, it can lead to a lot of frustration and low compliance for people who are trying to exercise more because of its inaccuracy.
Oh, because it's inaccurate.
Yeah.
That's no good.
No, well, the article goes on to say that they tested 5 cheap pedometers, and at least 3/4 of them were deemed unacceptable. They were 10% off in the results, plus or
Really?
minus. Yeah, and it goes on to say that at least 2/3 of them overcounted steps.
Oh, so you mean to say that when I buy one of these cheap pedometers and I go walk a bit, it tells me I walk more than I actually did?
Yeah, well, they also recommend that it's not good to promote physical activity.
Oh, So, last word is, don't buy cheap pedometers and expect accurate results.
Yeah, and researchers also wanted that for good pedometers to have quality labels on them, so people don't get confused which are good, which are bad.
Oh, so the good ones will say, we're good, use us.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so new news on Alzheimer's front. It turns out that there was a study in Winnipeg that showed that older adults who did activity 3 times or more weekly showed lower risk of developing Alzheimer's. This proves especially true for adults over 65. Even activities such as walking for 15 minutes is beneficial. They're saying that maybe it's because of improved vascular function in the brain.
So basically, I should tell my mom to exercise more because she's always forgetting stuff.
Not a bad idea.
Okay.
So what else is going on?
Well, I was just recently checking out the Nike Bauer site, looking for hockey equipment, and I noticed they have a training section now on their website.
Okay.
And just out of curiosity, I just clicked on it, and I saw 4 different categories, and each category they had videos for different drills for each category.
Oh, okay, so they're showing basically mini exercise videos.
Yeah, they had one for warm up, they had one category for strength, one for speed, one for conditioning, one for cool down. Sorry.
Oh, that's pretty cool. At least you can watch people do them. Well, who's doing them?
There were NHL strength and conditioning specialists from the NHL.
Okay, so watching experts do the exercise, so make sure you do them right. That's not too bad at all. And last news today, we have just received the results for a 2004 study on Canadian eating habits. Turns out we don't eat so good. Turns out, especially for the fat intake, we eat way too much fat for our recommended, about a little over our 30%. This is an improvement from a study that we did in the 1970s. However, it's still more than what we wanted. Also, Canadian adults and children do not eat enough fruits and vegetables per day. We're supposed to be having about 5 to 10 servings a day, and we're maybe hitting about an average of 5. Okay. Also, for calcium intake, we are definitely not hitting that as well. So, basically, word is, go and eat a fruit salad.
And cut down on Rice Krispie squares and drink more milk. Hi, today on Fit Tip, we're going to go through some of the things to look for when buying the proper athletic shoe. So, the best shoe might not necessarily be the most expensive shoe or the flashiest shoe. It should be something that fits you well and performs for you. If you get a badly fitted shoe, okay, it might lead to certain injuries such as shin splints, corns, tendonitis, and possible stress fractures. Another thing to look for before going to the store and buying a shoe is what type of shoe do you need? Because there's running shoes, walking shoes, cross trainers, court shoes, aerobic shoes. So make sure you know which shoe you're getting first. Another thing to look for is that what type of foot you have. Do you have flat feet or do you have proper feet that arch? Okay. So when shopping for a new shoe, you should try to go later in the day when your feet have expanded. Wear the same socks that you would wear with the shoe. Have your feet measured at the store, the length and the width. Ask the salesman to help you if you don't know how to use the scale. Another thing is you can either wear or bring your old pair of shoes, just to compare, because if you get a different brand, it might not be necessarily the same size because all brands have their own sizing. So bring your old shoe just to compare with the new shoe, whether it's comfortable or not. So what are the shoe characteristics we need to look at? The first thing is toe box. Now the toe box is the distance between your toe, the end of your toe, and the front of the shoe. If you find that the toe is right up against the top of the shoe, it means the shoe is too small. Okay, it's going to be too tight, and it's going to restrict a lot of movement and might lead to injuries such as having blisters on your toes, and we don't want that. Another thing to look for is the midsole, which is the middle of the shoe. Now this is where all the stabilization and cushioning is. Okay. You also want to look for something that has the proper firm arch. Okay. Especially for those who have flat feet. Something that you also want to look for a shoe that has a removable sole. Okay. Because some people might want to put their own orthotics in there. Another thing to look at is the bottom sole. Okay. Make sure that it's made of carbon rubber. Okay. Provides good traction. You're not slipping and sliding all over the place. Make sure that the forefront of the shoe has proper grooves for flexibility. Okay. Because when we push off, when we walk or we run, we're always pushing off our toes. If there's no treads, or there's no proper treads or grooves in the front, it might lead to less flexibility, restrictive movement, again, injuries. Okay. Another thing to look at is the heel counter, which is the inside of the shoe here. This is where once you put on your shoe, okay, this is where your heel is. And you don't want your heel leaving the bottom of your shoe, meaning after you tie your shoe and you walk around, the bottom of your foot should stay well placed inside the shoe. It should be a lot of movement. Another thing to look at is the Achilles notch here. It should be like a V-shaped. Okay. This prevents the Achilles tendon from chafing. Okay. Another thing to look at is the design of the shoe. Okay. The materials used. Make sure that it's well ventilated. That the tongue of the shoe here provides proper cushioning for the front, because you don't want something that's really uncomfortable in the front here. Okay. Again, might lead to blisters. One more thing to look at is the stitching. Okay. You don't want any of the stitching to be ripped, loose. Okay. Because that's just decreases the age of the shoe. And who wants to buy a shoe that's already ripped? One last note though, our shoes don't last forever. Okay. For runners and walkers, okay, maybe after 500 to 900 kilometers, it might be time for you to get a new shoe. Okay. Even though your shoe might still look in pretty good condition, okay, check the bottom of the shoe, such as this one. As we can see, it's still in pretty good shape, right? Well, if we look closely, a lot of the treading, okay, a lot of the grooves here are pretty much worn out. Another thing is that we don't see this, but inside the shoe, the material used for the cushioning, it might have collapsed already. So if you're someone that has a poor arch, flat feet, okay, you're going to notice that your knees might start hurting. You might end up getting shin splints because you lost that support. For basketball players and athletes that wear the shoe for training, cross training, okay, indoor court shoes, if you practice about once or twice a week for an hour or two, okay, maybe after 6 months, it's time to get a new shoe as well. So those are some of the things you might want to look for when buying a shoe. And that's it for today's Fit Tip.
So today on Information, we're going to be talking about the difference between energy drinks and sports drinks. What's up with them? What are they for? When do we drink them? And why? Alright, let's take a look. Right now I have one of the new energy drinks, Tab Energy from the Coca-Cola company. Alright, and I also have Gatorade, very popular sports drinks, okay? So let's take a look. What is in this? Namely, most energy drinks will have some sort of stimulant such as caffeine or guarana. Basically the same thing in it. So maybe some herbal extracts and some vitamins, okay? Sports drinks will have mostly sugar and sodium, potassium, electrolytes that are lost through sweat when we do physical activity. And they're very important for something like the beating of our hearts. Okay, so let's take a closer look. Now the energy drink, what they say the purpose of this drink is developed for periods of increased mental and physical exertion, helps temporarily restore mental alertness or wakefulness when experiencing fatigue or drowsiness. That was really hard to say, okay? Gatorade, or Powerade for that matter, most sports drinks, what are they designed for? Fluid replacements. That's it. You sweat, you need to drink something, drink this. That was a lot easier to say. Alright, now, these energy drinks have a couple of warnings on them too. They usually recommend not more than 1 or 2 cans a day. Not for kids, not for pregnant women. Don't take if you're having liver problems. So you really want to make sure that you're okay to be drinking this stuff, alright? The warning, too much sugar too quickly might cause stomach upset. Alright, so not too bad, right? As for this, now do we really need it? Really, if you are eating well and you're drinking well, you shouldn't really need an energy boost. However, if you want to have it as a drink or whatever, that's fine. It's not a problem. What you do need to be a little bit aware of is that because most of them are carbonated, they make you feel more full. When you're more full, you don't feel like drinking more. So if you have this before a sports event or physical activity, it's probably bad news because you're more likely to become dehydrated. Okay, so please be aware of that. Very, very important. Do not become dehydrated because you're drinking energy drinks. That would be the opposite of what we want to do. Okay? I've also tried a couple of them myself. I didn't find a really big difference, but maybe people like how it tastes or something. I have no idea. Now, for these sports drinks, do we need them? If you're going to be doing physical activity for over an hour, especially if you're outside sweating a lot, they might be a good idea because most people are prone to drinking something that tastes good, like this, as to something that tastes like nothing, like water. Although water is fine, but maybe if you're sweating profusely, you do want to make up some of that sodium and potassium, those electrolytes that we talked about, because they're specially designed and they're in here. Okay, so not such a bad idea because we don't want to be dehydrated because that's just bad news. All right, but dehydration will be a topic for another day. All right, and today that'll be it.
That's it for today's episode of KinFit.
Make sure to check back for our show notes and websites that we think are important.
If you have any ideas or feedback you want to send us, just email them at info@kinfit.tv.
Big thank you goes once again to Timmy, our cameraman, and my sister Amanda for being a wonderful production assistant.
So we see you next time. Remember, don't quit.
Stay fit. These are used to promote for energy. Basically, like when we are, I don't like that take.
Okay.
I'm babbling
It
too much.
seems a little, maybe a little more energetic.
I'll cut it out.